The rejection came quietly, the way most life-changing moments do. No dramatic announcement, no raised voices, just a polite smile from the receptionist and a thin envelope placed gently into Daniel Carter's hands. "Thank you for coming in," she said, already glancing past him to the next candidate. Daniel nodded, forcing a smile he didn't feel, and turned toward the glass doors of the towering building. Outside, the city hummed with life. Taxis honked. People hurried past, briefcases swinging, faces set with purpose. Daniel stood still for a moment, the envelope unopened, his shoulders slumped as if the weight of the world had settled there. He already knew what it said. He didn't need to read it. He had seen it in the interviewer's eyes when they asked that final question, "Can you commit to long hours, including nights and weekends?" He had hesitated, just for a second, but a second was enough. Daniel stepped onto the sidewalk and began to walk, his thoughts drifting not to the interview room he had just left, but to a small apartment across town. To a little girl with messy hair and bright eyes who would be waiting by the window, counting the minutes until her father came home. Emily was 6 years old, and she was the reason Daniel had dared to apply for a job at a company so far above his reach. Since his wife, Laura, had passed away 3 years earlier, life had become a careful balancing act. School drop-offs, late-night freelance work, grocery lists scribbled on the backs of envelopes. He had promised Emily that things would get better. That one day, he wouldn't look so tired all the time. The interview had been his chance. Inside the building, several floors above, Eleanor Whitmore stood by the conference room window, watching the man who had just walked out of her company. She was the billionaire CEO of Whitmore Tech, a woman known for her sharp instincts and even sharper standards. Candidates rarely made her pause. But this one had. She turned back to the table where her executive team sat. "Who was that?" she asked calmly. "Daniel Carter," her assistant replied. "Strong technical background. Gaps in employment, though. Single parent." Eleanor nodded slowly. She remembered his resume, how it didn't brag, how it quietly spoke of resilience. She remembered the way his voice softened when he mentioned his daughter, the way his hands tightened when asked about availability. Most candidates tried to impress her with ambition. Daniel had impressed her with honesty. "He didn't fail," Eleanor said suddenly. The room went quiet. "He chose his child," she continued. "And that tells me more about his character than any polished answer ever could." She walked toward the door, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. "Where is he now?" The assistant hesitated. "Probably already left, ma'am." Eleanor didn't slow down. "Then let's not waste any more time." Outside, Daniel was nearly at the corner when he heard someone calling out to him. "Mr. Carter." He turned, confused, as the glass doors burst open behind him. A woman in a tailored suit hurried toward him, her expression urgent. People stopped to stare as Eleanor Whitmore, one of the most powerful CEOs in the country, crossed the sidewalk like a woman chasing a missed train. "Please," she said, slightly out of breath, "don't walk away just yet." Daniel blinked. "I'm sorry, I thought." "I know what you thought," Eleanor said gently. "And I'm sorry we made you feel that way." She held out her hand. "Come back inside." Daniel hesitated. Years of disappointment had taught him not to hope too quickly. "Ms. Whitmore, I appreciate it, but I understand your decision. I can't promise the kind of hours you're looking for." Eleanor smiled, not a corporate smile, but a real one. "Then it's a good thing we're not looking for that." Back in her office, sunlight poured through the tall windows as Eleanor poured 2 cups of coffee. Daniel sat stiffly across from her, unsure whether to speak. "Tell me about Emily," Eleanor said. Daniel's posture softened immediately. He spoke of bedtime stories and school projects, of the way Emily insisted on leaving an extra cookie on the plate for her mom, just in case. His voice cracked when he talked about the nights she cried herself to sleep and how he stayed awake, holding her hand until the tears stopped. Eleanor listened without interrupting. "When my father died," she said quietly when he finished, "my mother raised 3 children while working 2 jobs. She missed birthdays. She missed school plays. But she never missed teaching us what mattered. I built this company because of her." She leaned forward. "I don't need employees who sacrifice their families for this place. I need people who know why they're working." Daniel felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. "Hope. You didn't fail the interview," Eleanor said firmly. "You passed a test you didn't even know you were taking." She slid a folder across the desk. Flexible hours. Remote options. A team that values results, not face time. And a salary that will let you stop worrying every time the rent is due. Daniel stared at the folder, his hands trembling as he opened it. The numbers blurred as tears filled his eyes. I don't know what to say, he whispered. Eleanor stood and extended her hand again. Say yes. The weeks that followed felt unreal. Daniel worked hard, but for the first time, he worked without fear. He picked Emily up from school every afternoon. He attended parent-teacher meetings without checking his phone. At night, when she fell asleep on the couch beside him, he no longer lay awake wondering how long he could keep going. Emily noticed the change before anyone else. You smile more now, Daddy, she said one evening, curling up beside him. Did something good happen? Daniel hugged her close. Something very good. Months later, Eleanor attended a company event where employees were invited to bring their families. She watched as Daniel laughed with his team, Emily perched proudly on his shoulders, waving at everyone like a queen greeting her people. Emily spotted Eleanor and tugged at her father's shirt. Daddy, that's the lady from your office. Daniel approached, a little shy. Ms. Whitmore, this is Emily. Emily looked up at Eleanor with wide eyes. Thank you for making my daddy happy, she said seriously. Eleanor knelt to her level. Your daddy did that all by himself. As Eleanor watched them walk away, she felt a quiet satisfaction settle over her. She had built an empire of technology and numbers, but moments like this reminded her of something far more important. Sometimes, the best decisions aren't made in boardrooms or spreadsheets. Sometimes, they're made on sidewalks, when you choose to run after someone who almost walked away. And for Daniel Carter, that run changed everything, not just his career, but his life. Because he learned that failure isn't always the end of the road. Sometimes, it's just the moment before someone sees your worth and calls you back, reminding you that choosing love, responsibility, and integrity will always lead you exactly where you're meant to be.